I'm Eric Yaverbaum. Nobody's ever heard of me, and you can't spell my last name.
Oh, just kidding.
I worked on the transition team between Bush and Obama administrations. I started the agency that I run now. I also write books. I've written 7. I'm a New York Times bestselling author.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I wear a lot of hats.
And I'm assuming a book just released?
I do have a new book coming out. My biggest book was Leadership Secrets of the World's Most Successful CEOs. That book sold over 1 million copies.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Our first will drop in January. So I can appreciate how much effort and time that took to do 7 of them.
Jeez, yeah.
Being ranked as one of the top places to work, and obviously being somewhat of an expert in this whole notion of employees and movement of employees and doing different strategies to bring people on in this crazy world that we live in now. What kind of things did you do to create this environment that you would be ranked as one of the best places to work?
Well, that was before. This is now. But if I could get ranked again, it would be higher. I get credit for a lot of stuff. Newspapers and magazines write about me. I'm on podcasts, television, radio shows, my whole career. It was never me, ever, even though I get all the credit and it's always my name. It's everybody that works with me. Trying to create an environment that works for all of us so that we can actually enjoy what we do for a living. It's always been important to me. I mean, I learned that as a kid. I've been doing it for 4 decades. And, fast forward to today, it's a different workplace. The notion of the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 work week, it's over. We're not doing that anymore. While everybody's trying to figure out, so what are we going to do? Some companies are doing hybrid. Some companies are operating completely virtual. And some companies are saying, no, you have to come back to work or you'll lose your job. People are saying, okay, I'll pass on my job. That's just literally what's happening. So, what do you do as an employer to make an environment that works for everybody? The new generation, they don't want to commute to work every day. They don't want to have to get, dressed for work every day. And they did find that during the pandemic, depending on what industry you were in, they could actually do their jobs. They could do it well. They could do it virtually and get as much, if not more, done. And, knowing that, they're not going to want to come back. And to me, that's understandable. It does depend on what industry you're in.
I told my whole staff, like 15 of us, take your computers and we'll just work from home. To your point, yeah, they said 2 weeks, but it was like...
It was a money pit 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good idea that was going to last for a while. And
Yeah.
we were all pretty freaked out in the beginning. And I had a bad case of COVID, right?
When they started putting the structures up around all the cashiers with wood and bolts and plexiglass, I'm like, oh, this is not a temporary deal.
In the beginning, when they were asking everybody to stay at home, I was like, I could stay at home in my nice place, sitting on my couch. I mean, I'm not going combat in a war. I'm just staying home. I still have air conditioning. I still got a refrigerator. Still got a bed to sleep on. It seemed to me to be not such an awful thing to be doing. All questions in everybody's mind about, so how are we going to make this work now? We didn't really have them because we've been using technology for so many years to be able to work remotely. To us, it wasn't such a big deal.
A lot of insurance agency owners are these, 5 to 10 employees, smaller shops, some where it's just one person, sole shop. If they have a location, it's challenging to have people not in the office. What does somebody in that situation do, and how do they attract the top candidates?
Look, here's the thing about any industry. People don't work for me because they love me. There are other ways to do it. All that said, we had fancy schmancy offices. I got famous people coming in. It was a whole scene in my office of famous people, powerful people, big corporations. We had, fruit in the water cooler. It was a whole environment. That's not here. We don't have that anymore. We are together less, but it is not impossible to do in any industry at all. But I do think there has to be some touch points. In the insurance industry, I do think people will have to come in some days, not every day.
It's so true. And it's funny, all the conversations, the exit conversations I've had with employees have all been geared around them not being happy. And usually that conversation leads to them exiting. I haven't had to fire anyone because of that.
I mean, I started a company when, I was 22 years old. All I needed to do was make sure I had rent and and could cover the bar bill, sort of. I mean, realistically, we got bills. So we got to make money somehow. But there is a way to make a living that isn't work.
Right.
If you find your passion. And if you find your passion, you're never going to work a day in your life. It's so much better. So when I'm a kid, kind of new in the business, my agency is representing Domino's Pizza. I'm at the National Awards and I'm sitting at the head table, which was, in the presence of greatness. Tom Monahan's at the table. He owns the Detroit Tigers. He's the guy who started Domino's Pizza. This is the head table for, 5,000 people were there. I don't know how many were there. there, but I'm sitting next to Joe Theismann. This was right after the Redskins had won the Super Bowl, now the Commanders. And the waiter is coming around, and he takes the tongs and he puts the bread on the little bread plate. He takes the tongs and he puts a pat of butter next to the bread. And Theismann turns around to the waiter and says, "Can I get another pat of butter?" And the waiter says, "No." And Theismann does a little bit of a double take, and he turns around and says, "You know who I am?" And the waiter says, "No." He said, "I'm Joe Theismann. I'm the quarterback of the Washington Redskins. We just won the Super Bowl. I'm the reason everybody's here today." And the waiter, without skipping a beat, says to him, "Do you know who I am?" Theismann says, "No." He said, "I'm the guy in charge of the butter, and that's all you're getting." It was a great lesson in being humble. And today, I am an insurance dude.
Boom! That is so funny.
You know, I saw Joe, he was a keynote at an insurance thing that I went to in New York, I don't know, probably 8 years ago, but he was really good. He did this thing about like everything changes in one instant, and he snaps his finger. It was really good. If you know him, then you've probably seen that speech.
I don't know him. I just know he did when he played my Giants on a regular basis. That's about it besides that meal.